Today we have a 1923 Franklin, and this old girl's been setting for at least 76 years. During World War II, she was chopped up and turned into a truck instead of a car because they needed extra fuel rations, and well, if you had a truck bed, you got more fuel. It used to be a Model 10 Franklin, and it was a roadster car with a full convertible top, four-door, but they since did the rear end delete on that part of it. We do have the rear fenders that are original. It does have a Model T bed on it, but we're gonna get her running. She's been setting since about 1948, and hopefully driving, because if she'll run good and the clutch works, we'll get some new tires for her and get her out on the highway and endanger everybody around. The frame is made out of 3-layer laminated ash, and they did that to save weight. Willys also made frames out of wood, but yeah, it's made out of, that's 101-year-old wood right there on the frame. So hopefully that holds up. The other side already has a U-bolt on it that somebody put on there years ago when they were driving it, because it's kind of got a crack or two in it, which is probably not good, but you can see the 1, 2, 3 layers of wood there. And the bed's a Model T. Maybe they overloaded the bed at one point. Underneath the hood, the neatest thing about this car is it has a 6-cylinder engine. But it's not just any 6-cylinder engine. This bad boy is air-cooled. She's 199 cubic inches, and well, she makes 25 horsepower. So she's not a speed demon, but I guess she'll get you where you want to go. It does have a big old squirrel cage fan up front that blows the air over the cylinders and down through the, I guess the heat sinks, whatever you want to call them, through here. Everything seems to be complete. She is locked up solid, but that's how they normally are. Underneath all this, you can get to your spark plugs, your valves, and all that stuff. You just gotta undo this big old aluminum cover. It's like that. You can see all the spark plugs. The person I got it from, they sprayed it with some penetrating fluid to try to get it loose a while back, and that didn't exactly work. It still has the old Champion spark plugs in it. Well, right there you can see that one better. Still got the old Champions in it. We do have a new set of plugs already for this old girl. And well, we're gonna go ahead and get her soaking with some acetone transmission fluid mixture and some PB Blaster, because we need to get her loose. On this side over here is how you check the oil. There is no oil dipstick to see what the water level of this oil is. It has this little floaty dude right here, and if she's empty, it'll be here. And when she's full, it's down here. So she's almost full, because you can see right there's an F mark, and should be an E. Yep, there's an E up there. So she's almost full. Hopefully that's not water, but well, we're gonna get to mixing up some acetone transmission fluid mixture, fill these cylinders up. Well, we might need to pull the oil pan plug first and fill it with diesel, because it may just be straight water down in there. And on the interior real quick, you can see all these fancy knobs and switches. This is your idle air mixture and stuff, and the jiggle stick, and all that fancy stuff. But we'll get to that once we get her running, or at least turning up. After a little bit of investigating, I found out that this little dude that you turn here is where the oil comes out. Well, maybe not. There. And I know there's something in there. Oh, it's goop. At least it ain't water. Huh. We might need a longer pokey stick to wiggle around in there, because it ain't leaking out. This oil is probably just as chunky as all the other oil that we get out of these things, but the chunks ain't gonna come out as good because, well, it's got that little thing on it. It don't exactly look like it's turning into dinosaurs just yet. It probably just needed a few more years, and then it would have been a dinosaur again. Oh, there's the water. You can see the difference. That stuff right there's water. That's oil. Or I think that's watery oil. Well, we're gonna let that drain for a little while, and then we'll fill it full of diesel. We'll probably have to pull this off of here so we can make sure we get all them chunks out of there, because you really don't want to run that stuff through one of these engines, because well, all the dirt and nasty stuff gets in them chunks. And yes, these engines used to run in all the chunky goodness that was in the oil pan for performance, but if you can keep from it, it's real nice to get all that out of them. Oil pan is draining. We're gonna go ahead and take a look down in these cylinders. The plugs are already halfway loose because like I said, the person I got it from, they had already sprayed some stuff down in there, but it don't look like they sprayed a whole lot down in there because you got to fill them up to get them loose. No real rust on the plug. It may be that the squirrel cage fan stuck. You can see there's a little bit of rust on the electrode there. But if you look down here real quick, you can see that big old squirrel cage fan has some dirt dauber nest on it. And people ask what dirt daubers are. They're like little wasp dudes, and they really like dirt. They like, it's mud, and that's what they make their houses out of. So something down in there may be locking it up, but it's best just to fill the cylinders anyway. Let's see. There's a lot of carbon on that one, but it doesn't look like much rust. Makes my job easy since these things are loose. And since it had that cover, we ain't got to worry about them breaking off, I guess. Well, since they're already off, too. And no real rust on that one either. Well, we'll eventually find one that's rusty. No. This one's down at the bottom of the stroke, and let's get it where you guys can maybe see. Maybe not. No real rust in that one either. Huh. And still, there is no rust in this one. That's crazy. It shouldn't be locked up then. No rust on the plug. And that could be because it's already had stuff sprayed down in it, but there should still be some signs of rust with it being locked up. Nothing in that one either. So 5 out of 6 so far. Well, that one you can see, no, that's carbon. Let's go for 6 with no rust, maybe. There is a little bit of rust on the cylinder wall of this one. Maybe you guys can see it. I doubt it. Need to get one of them bore scopes so I can show you guys what these look like down inside. But there's no rust in any of these. So it may have been water in the bottom end, but I'd almost bet there's got to be something holding that fan up. Because it just don't make sense that them look that good and it's stuck. And it may just have a little bit around the rings, but the oil is still draining, so maybe there's some, oh man, we're about to make a mess. Oops. It really started coming out, it looks like. Let's turn that off. That was bad on my part. I got to go get something else. It had more than a gallon in it, or 5 quarts. That oil from leaking on the ground because that thing overfilled. This is what came out of it looks like, and all in all, it don't look bad except for it being red and smells nasty. There's no water in it. I thought that stuff that was coming off the top side was water mixed in with it, but I think that was just all the crud and the grease build up. We will fill it with diesel and flush the engine out and make sure we're not going to run all that junk back through it, because it's not good on them, I don't think, because there could be dirt and dust and who knows what all in that thing. We're going to go ahead, fill the cylinders, and address the squirrel cage fan, because that may just be what's locking. Go ahead and spray about a whole can of the PB Blaster between all 6 cylinders, and then fill it with the transmission fluid and acetone, and hopefully she comes free pretty easy. You never can put too much of this in there. We're probably going to make a mess. There we go. That one's full. And yeah, it's leaking down the side of the block. Won't hurt it anyway. Oh, you guys can't see it. It's making a mess all down the side of the engine there. That's the color it's supposed to be. We got the halfway proper mixture on that part. See, that might, at least it ain't soaking past the rings real quick. Went ahead and put one bottle of acetone in there. We'll put the other ones after we put some diesel, and our funnel that we got will not fit underneath the exhaust and to the oil fill spot, so we just got to do it this way. This should degunk the oil pan, hopefully. And just like that, we'll let that sit for a few days, or maybe it'll only take a day. And hopefully she'll come unstuck. All that diesel in there should help break up the chunks of stuff, if there is any. And it'll also clean all the stuff out of the oil pan, and if there is any rust, it'll clean that up too. We went ahead and we've let this old girl set overnight with the acetone and stuff in there, and also the crankcase full of diesel fuel, and let's see if it's soaked past them rings. Well, it looks bone dry in there. Let's see. No, there's still quite a bit dent. Well, no, not really. Don't look like there's a whole bunch of junk. There is some stuff we'll have to shop back out of there. Let's see in this one. Well, we can't really see down in there. Well, that one looks absolutely bone dry. That one still has quite a bit in it. Huh. A lot of times it sinks past the rings on these old things. Normally it don't stay on the rings. Maybe it just has real good rings in it. That one, it is completely empty, and you can see all that is carbon that's on top of that piston that it has got loose, because transmission fluid and acetone does that. That one's still pretty full. Huh. And last but not, oh, see, that ain't supposed to happen. That one is completely full. 99% of the time it goes past the rings, because even if the rings are really good, they shouldn't do that exactly. So maybe the rings are just stuck to the cylinder walls from moisture. I don't think it was locked up running. I had one time that was locked up running, and we never got the thing loose because, well, it was locked up running. This one had oil in it, so maybe someone just re-ringed it before they parked it, or maybe these things have real good compression. Huh. It's not even trying. Well then, let's relocate these guys and start pulling valve covers. I don't think it's anything in the cam or anything like that, but you can see everything in there looks halfway good. Not all rusted. I guess it could be some valve stuck. It may be valve stuck. But I do think them pistons are stuck, so we're gonna go ahead and tap on them valves with a hammer and make sure they pop down and go from there. It's not the exact perfect way to do this, but you can just take your hammer and go. That one got stuck down. Not a good thing. Get it back up here in a minute. loose so far. Well, that shouldn't be the problem then. That one got stuck again. Another one. I do not think it's the valve train stuck, but it's best just to check so we don't break nothing, because you can break them pretty easy. And you can shear the gear off the camshaft. Well, all 12 of them are good, so it has to be the pistons locked up. I don't think it's the crank. I think it's just them few pistons are stuck. I'm gonna go ahead and pry them other valves back up and get back with you guys. It's on the starter a bunch more times and it still won't turn over. So down here is a little inspection plate for on top. Ooh, that came off easy. For on top of the starter, and you can see the flywheel there. Well, it looks like somebody's done got on this flywheel in the past and tried turning it, because them bolts were really loose. And if you look, you can see marks there on the top of the flywheel, well, the back of it. You can see where the, well, no, I think that's just wear from it. No, that's fresh. Maybe it's turning just a little bit, but I doubt it. We're gonna get a crowbar in there and see if we can pry on that. We can't pry too hard because this is an aluminum case and it will probably explode in a million pieces if we pry on it real good. Probably can't see too good, but there's not enough room in this little cab for the starter. I mean, not the starter, the camera. So we're gonna get right here on this flywheel and give it a, oh, there it went. It just moved. And just like that, either I broke something or she broke free. Ain't that something? Did I break something or? I'm gonna put you guys over there and we're gonna see if stuff's coming out of the cylinder. Well, you guys can see there either, but I think it broke free. I don't think we broke anything, because let's give her a crank. Oh yeah, I hear it turning. Oh yeah, she's free, just like that. I can smell the acetone and everything leaking out of there now. Man, that was too easy on that part. I guess we bumped it enough with the starter and hit on it that she finally decided to come loose. Oh yeah, it's leaking all the gunk out of this thing. Pushing all that out of the cylinders. Yeah, buddy. She is now free. So, I guess she wasn't stuck too bad, I don't guess. Woo! There we go. Man, that thing moves a lot of air. She turns over really good with that starter. I'm gonna inspect the cylinders again and make sure no more junks came loose. That carbon really won't hurt anything, but you really don't want it down in there because it ain't always good on the engines. And this one, we could pull the heads off, but the heads are basically cylinder jugs. They're separate, so you'd have to pull them apart at the block and put the rings back in there. And as long as we can get all the junk out of there, it's no big deal. That one valve is still stuck, so I gotta work on it for a little while, but we should be about ready to throw some plugs in it, get the points cleaned, and see if she'll fire here in a minute. Before we throw the plugs in, we're gonna give it a little bit of engine stop leak just to give the cylinders some lubrication, because you don't want to run them dry, even though they've had plenty of it. And it also helps build compression and helps them rings pop back. Also, I seen on the last video, a lot of people was wondering why I run it so long without coolant in it. And I never run it hot enough to hurt anything like this, and we ain't got to worry because we'll put the engine cover back on and it's air cooled. But I always run them a little bit to get them warm because that helps the rings pop back, at least it seems to, because a lot of them I've got running, let them run for a second, then filled them with water, and then it's a pain in the butt to ever get them running again and to keep them running. It seems once they get some heat into them, it helps them rings snap back, because you got to think they've sat in the same spot in the cylinder wall for anywhere between 50 to 80 years on some of these, and this one's set for 76, so that's a long time for some rings to set in the same spot. But we're going to go ahead and throw these big old W18 Champions in here. I think these bad boys are like $8 a piece, so they're pretty proud of them. The old ones still don't look too bad, but it's best just to throw a new set of plugs in it because that helps out a little bit. The plugs are now tightened down and everything. We're going to go ahead and, I've already loosened this. This is the vacuum fuel canister. Basically right here it runs vacuum to this and it sucks the gas out of the gas tank, and well, the gravity flows down in there to the carburetor. But we're going to fill it up first so that carburetor will get to soaking, and maybe the seals won't be bad, because I'm sure it's probably hard to find seals for one of these things. So far it ain't leaking. Have no idea how much this thing holds, but we'll find out here in a minute. It's nowhere near full. Didn't figure it would be. Since this thing is set inside, it's in a whole lot better shape than what we normally get, so if it was kept in somewhat of a stable temperature environment, maybe the seals and stuff won't be as bad, and well, the whole car should be better. Should be a whole lot easier to get running too. Okay, nothing is leaking so far, which is a good sign. I assume there's fuel in the carburetor. So I'm gonna go fill a bunch more of these up, fill this thing to the top, and I'll get back with you. There's no leaks out of the carburetor or the fuel canister, which is a good sign. That carburetor may not have to rebuild it. But around here to the fuel tank, it took me a good 35 minutes to get this fuel cap off. I had the Bakelite cover on it broke off. But if you look down in there, it's mostly just a pile of rust. Let's try to get that flashlight where it... There, you can see all that is just rust down in there. So we're going to pull this tank once we get her running. Time to see what these points look like in this distributor, and hopefully it's all here. Well then. There. Give it a... These things are Bakelite, so you kind of want to be a little careful with them. Well, I'll get back with you guys. That may be a hard thing to get off of here. A lot of tapping and wiggling on it. We got her loose, and well, at least everything's in there. The points are a little different than what we normally mess with. They are rather corroded. I'm gonna go grab a piece of sandpaper and we'll clean these bad boys up, and we'll see if we get spark here in a minute. Clean the points. I'm not sure if they're clean enough yet, but we hooked the coil up and it started smoking, so we're gonna throw this one on there and hope for the best, and we'll go from there. Go ahead and whirl this old girl over. I think I'm gonna spray it with a little bit of starting fluid just to help it out. We do have spark, and as long as we have compression and all that fancy stuff, it should have gas in the carburetor. Well, she should run. Let's see what we get. So far, this has been pretty easy. Motor came unstuck, and it's in a lot better shape than a lot of stuff. So So far, everything's been good on it. Let's see here. It's not even getting spark. Okay. Well, it ain't getting spark or it ain't getting fuel one. Either or. Let's see. That looks like an easy one to take off. And a piece of metal. We'll see what we get. Don't seem like we're getting much. Well, probably want something with a handle on it so I don't shock myself. Then comes the problem of needing something to hold the ground down. Just like that, it jumps too much. Okay, it's getting spark. I can see it on the pair of pliers. So spark is not our issue. It's not getting fuel to the cylinders. I went ahead and took that line loose and sprayed starting fluid down in there, so this should tell us if it's a spark. Well, we know we have spark, so maybe it's just a fuel delivery issue, because that happens sometimes. Let's see what we get here. Oh, there we go. Come on. It's a delivery issue, because it was running. Well, trying to run. Oh yeah, look at the smoke puffing out. Let's try to keep her running for a second and see if we can fix our problem here. We got plenty of spark. It'll run if you spray ether in the Dumaflocci, the little hole here. I wonder if, so that's full of fuel. We're gonna take this line off here, make a mess everywhere, but at least we'll see if we're getting fuel down here. We are in fact getting fuel there. Okay, fuel here. Fuel at the carburetor. No fuel at the carburetor. Now we got fuel. Everywhere, all over everything. Okay, now let's give this another try. Gravity should be able to do its job now. That line, I guess it was just airlocked. No guarantees though this is gonna work, but cross your fingers. There we go, ha-ha! I mean, the thing runs pretty good. She does smoke a little bit, but that's from the engine stop leak I put down in there. So it was that not feeding it fuel. That's the problem. It wasn't feeding it enough fuel or feeding it any fuel at all. Just, I guess, airlocked. We need more throttle, I think. Okay, we got her on run. Put her right about there, and let's see. That should be vroom vroom. We had it on vree. Right about there should be good enough to keep her running. Let's give this another try. There we go. There, come on, pick up. Sounds good. It ain't idling exactly right, but Okay, we didn't have enough fuel in it to do that, I don't guess. Bone dry. Well, I'm gonna go get some more gas and pour down in there, and we're gonna keep this old girl running. She should stay running, I hope. No guarantees, though. There we go. There we go. Sounds like it's got a cam in it. Oh yeah, that was my fault. Our wire came loose. I think it's just running crappy. It's running crappy. It's running crappy. That's a problem. It is smoking a little bit back there, but that's from the good old engine stop leak in the cylinders. I think it's running crappy. Man, that thing moves the air. Cylinders ain't getting warm yet. What's happening? It seems we're losing spark through there, but I hear it snapping lower than what it's supposed to, I think. She is still smoking a little bit, but so far so good. I'm gonna go ahead real quick and see if the clutch is gonna work before she falls out and dies on us. Clutch in it. Just says bad gear clash, I guess, or I ain't putting it, stabbing it the right way. We're losing spark somewhere in there. That's getting hot. Man, the exhaust gets hot on this thing. That's what it is. Somewhere in this mess of wires, it's it's sparking against itself and grounding each other out. So, guess I'm just gonna go ahead and replace the plug wires with new ones, even though I really don't want to, but we got some we're gonna use on another project. We'll use them on this, and that will make it where she runs a little better. Go ahead and put all them plug wires on there. I'm not gonna bore you with most of that because that took probably, I don't know how long it took. I'd be lying if I told you because it took forever. There is 25 feet, no, 27 feet? Wait, we got a foot left. I ordered 30 feet for that one truck. So there's 29 feet of plug wire in this mess. And they are an absolute pain to get in there. I got the ends on them. They're plugged into the distributor. So we're gonna hook fire up to it. I filled the little fuel cell thingy up with gas, and well, all we gotta do is hook a coil up and she should fire off, and maybe she'll run halfway right this go around. We do need to figure out a place for the battery underneath I think it goes underneath the floorboard. We'll figure that out here in a minute. and get it hooked up like it's actually supposed to be. Well, let's see here. Oh yeah, oh no. Okay, that's my fault maybe. Woo! Okay, we must not have enough throttle. No, something smells like burning rat. There may be a rat in the exhaust. Yeah, it smells like burning rats. There we go. No, it's still got that chug in it. I guess they run like that. There's a little bit of okay, so she runs really good. We're gonna put the cover on here. I don't want to get her too hot. She is starting to get, well, not really. Okay, I guess it don't get as hot as I thought it would that quick. But we're gonna put the cover on there for good measures. I think it's blown out all the crap that was down in there anyway. That was reversed. Pulled the Franklin inside the other day. It's raining outside and it's been raining every day for like the past month, but we got our tires in today, so we're gonna put some tires on it, fix the fuel system, and get her on the highway. The clutch is still not doing clutch things like it should. Sometimes it works, other times it don't. Accidentally put it in third gear the other day, and it throttled up on me to full throttle, and it threw rooster tails for like 5 feet and almost crashed this thing. I found out it may only have 25 horsepower, but it can get you from here to the hospital real quick if you ain't careful. So we got to throw these bad boys on here. They came from Lucas Tire because they was cheaper than Coker Tire and they had the right size. Their tubes are there and the wood flaps are there. But first things first, we're going to pull this fuel tank. I would heat this bolt up here that's holding it because it don't really want to come loose, but it was a fuel tank and it still kind of smells like gas, even, well, more like lacquer, because I'm sure there's still something left in there. But we haven't caught this one on fire yet, so we're going to keep the torch away from it and try to get that loose, drop this, and fill it with some acid, and that should clean it up pretty good. I think there's a fuel on and off here, and the line's up top. It's going to be hard to get to with the bed being there, but we'll get this dropped off here in a minute and clean it out, and then throw some tires on while this thing's cooking with some acid in it. There's some of it. So far we got a few pounds of it probably. Oh man. Woo! That smells like old gas. I think right there it has the gas that was in this has started to fossilize. You can see whatever that is. I guess that's gas. Oh yeah, it's still kind of, well, it's more like a crystal-like structure. But I'm gonna say that used to be leaded gasoline right there. The good stuff. It still smells like it. There we go. There's your valve stem, and you have, oh, let's turn this bad boy around. This little dude here holds it on there, and also when you squeeze this down, this ring clips here. So we're gonna go ahead and try to squeeze this around and get that, so we can get the tire off of here. Let's just flop her down like that. That's all sprung together. You can see it holds right there on that little bump. This thing, you gotta kind of be careful with it because it can be a jack in the box because they'll fly apart, and it's got enough to probably almost take a finger off as tight as that thing is on there. So we're going to go ahead and start assembling the tube inside the tire and put the wheel liner in there. Then we'll throw it on here, throw it on the car, and then we got some rear ones to deal with. You got to get them past the, there's that. Oh, the tube's coming out. I knew I shouldn't have gave it the juice. Crap. That's what happens when you don't pay enough attention. The tube started sliding out of it. There we go. Now give it up. Ow. Whew. Now she's together. The tube's still where it needs to be. We didn't lose no fingers. We just lost a little bit of skin off our arm. Now we gotta put a little air in her and throw her on there. You look like you're in the right spot. Oh, that ain't setting right, is it? Nope. Let's see where we're at here. Far enough back for it to set in there. That one's there, that one ain't though. That one done has some technical difficulty. I shouldn't have said this was the easy part. Normally it is. Well, these are the 13/16. Put air back in it. I'm not sure if the air being in it was the problem, but she's on here now, and we got, already did the one on the other side, so we got 2 more of these bad boys to do, and a gas tank to put back in, and a fuel system to sort out, and a clutch to make kind of work. It looks a whole lot better on tires that aren't flat, but this one does look a little bit low on the sidewall, and I think there's 35 PSI in this bad boy. The other one don't. All 4 new tires put on the old girl. We still have to put the gas tank back in, but first we need to fix our clutch not clutching issue. Sometimes it works and sometimes it don't. I went ahead and removed them 4 bolts and pulled this wood panel out so we can get to the clutch and see what it looks like. Smoky in here because I had her running a minute ago, and well, it smokes a lot. She does have 85,000 miles, but I don't think the clutch should be wore out just yet. Let's see. Oh boy. Huh. She's a little different down in there. We're gonna have to go find a flashlight and see exactly what's going on. I assume that the forks or the clutch plate isn't coming completely out, and that's what's causing it. Or it may just not have any clutch left. We'll find out. Somebody has already mentioned this in the video that knows more about Franklins than I do. I didn't think about it, but since this being one of them fancy cars from back in the day, it takes clutch juice. Well, it takes fluid. Hudson's used it. They used Hudsonite, but that little dude right there, you put oil in there and it makes everything all happy. It takes like 8 ounces or so, says the internet, of straight 30 weight. So we're going to go ahead and track some of that down and put that in there, and that should fix our clutch problems. I wish I would have thought about that, but I didn't think about it because most of them don't. They're just a normal clutch, but this kind of has like a fluid clutch like a tractor, and if they're slipping, you can clean them out with like kerosene and stuff like that, or you cut the oil with kerosene if it's real loose and slipping. There's a whole bunch of stuff you can do. So we're going to put oil in that, and that should make it where it breaks loose and does what it's supposed to do. And if it slips, we'll add a little kerosene and it'll make everything work out. But that down right in there, that right there is where the fluid goes, and that's the clutch. So I guess it's a neat little setup, and maybe they drive better than the normal clutches. Like you need something to pressure feed that into the clutch, because a lot of it's not going in there and it's ended up on the floor. But the last thing we need to do other than getting the clutch going to get it on the highway is the fuel system. The tank's already hooked up, the lines are good, but I already took this apart, and this basically has a little float in it, and this is your vacuum fuel system. So when it's low, that thing opens up, it lets the vacuum line open, and basically it pours more fuel in, and when it's full, it closes that off, and then it's not pulling fuel out of the tank so it don't flood the carburetor out, and it just basically does that right there. I took it apart, and there was a piece of two pieces of newspaper here. This one here, if you read it, it says property case, and it says estate 20. I don't know what that is, terms on real estate, so I'm guessing it's 20 acres. But there was a piece underneath this, and that just kind of fell apart. It was like right in here somewhere, and it was 1929. So I assume this one would be about the same. So that newspaper has been there since about 1929, holding that to keep it from leaking vacuum. But they coated it with some type of wax or something to put it on there. We're going back with this little piece of cork, and I'll throw that back on there. We'll fill that with fuel and see if it'll pull it out of the tank. And even if the clutch is still a little sticky, we'll try to get it on the highway and just kind of float the gears, and hopefully the clutch will come back to life here pretty soon. 10,000 times the charm. Ever since I brought it down here to drive it around on the road, it hasn't liked one bit of that. So I'm gonna try this again. And we'll put her in first gear. The starter got hung last time, which made it. There we go. Maybe it's gonna run. Maybe not. Okay, sounds like it's gonna run. Now let's see what we can do with it. There we go. Maybe not. I don't get that. There we go. There we go. Stay running. Watch this. Look at this. The gas pedal goes down on its own. I don't get that. It don't like first gear that much. I don't know where second is either. Better not take that gear. The clutch ain't really clutching. something, because every time you go to drive it around, it'll run real good, then it'll full throttle itself and all the way back to zero, and it's not in the carburetor, it's right here. This thing will go all the way down or all the way up when you're going driving around. But we're gonna try it again, and if all else fails, we'll come back down here tomorrow and get it figured out, because it can't be that complicated. You wouldn't think. It runs, it drives, clutch kind of works. So it seems like the trick to starting this old girl is to give her a little bit of throttle and whomp down on the old starter button there, and there we go. Let it run like that for a minute. Kind of takes two hands to drive this thing. There we go. Hopefully I ain't shaking y'all to death. We're going off-road right now. Come on. That's my fault for not holding the throttle, because the thing has a mind of its own, and if you wash, it goes down on its own, like that. Make sure we ain't gonna run nobody over here. Once we get her straight here. There we go. Running and driving, and I gotta say, it runs pretty good. It does sound like it's going 1,000,000 miles per hour when you're only going 5, because that engine just sounds mean and it pops. I'm not sure if it's supposed to do that or not, because I've never really messed with one of these. I do think it's the exhaust. All the time, I did advance it a little bit so it would do a little bit better on the newer gas and stuff. It seems to run good. It seems to get a little hot. It may just be how that engine runs, but I don't run it for long, and we let it set for a while before we drive it again. The clutch is still not doing clutch things like it should. Sometimes it works in first gear, sometimes it doesn't. That's why we're not getting it on the main road. Also, the frame is getting increasingly worse, we found out, because sometimes when you're driving it around and you let the clutch out, when it does let out, it yanks the rear end down and you can hear some cracking noises like, you know, breaking sticks. And I think this crack has grown because it goes all the way through here now since we've been driving it around, and this bolt got loose and it wasn't loose to begin with. But all in all, she runs, she drives. Sadly, we couldn't get her on the highway or drive her a whole lot at any speed. We'll do some more to this later on. It's probably gonna have framework, and if I can find a clutch, we'll put a clutch in it because I think that's what it needs. I did clean it out with the kerosene and stuff like that, like it said in a old user's manual I found for this thing, and that didn't help. I put 10 just straight 30 weight oil in it for clutch fluid. That didn't help either. But thank you guys for watching. Please consider maybe leaving a like or subscribing because we got a lot more cool videos coming to the channel. And I figured I'd get you guys one running and driving because that's what you've been asking for. And a lot of them that we get are too far gone to get back on the highway. And this one seemed like a perfect candidate, but at least we got her driving a little bit. But too bad we couldn't get her on the main road and see how fast she'd go.